Welcome to the Treasure Coast Regional League of Cities and St. Lucie County Chamber of Commerce Candidate Forum. We will be doing the state races today. We're kicking off State Race District 84 with our first 3 candidates. I am Theresa Aronson, President and CEO of the St. Lucie County Chamber of Commerce. The St. Lucie County Chamber of Commerce is made up of almost 900 business members. We are very proud and honored to represent business interests all throughout St. Lucie County. My co-moderator today is Mr. Tom Pinney.
Good afternoon. I'm Tom Pinney, and I'm representing the Treasure Coast Regional League of Cities. The Treasure Coast Regional League of Cities was founded in 2006 and is a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization made up of 14 cities, towns, and villages on the Treasure Coast in St. Lucie, Martin, Indian River, and Okeechobee counties. The League is one of over 24 affiliates of the Florida League of Cities. Our mission is to raise awareness and promote the collective interest of the municipalities and their residents on the Treasure Coast. We are educators of municipal government, and we encourage greater communication and cooperation, especially with home rule authority. Thank you.
Very good. I'm going to go over a few rules. I'm going to remind the audience, please silence your cell phone at this time. And candidates, how this is going to work is the order of appearance will be chosen at random. I believe we've already done that. We're going to be starting to my left and proceeding to the right. Opening statements of 2 minutes will allow candidates to introduce themselves. Topics will be a wide range of state issues. The moderator, that's myself and Mr. Pinney, will ask the question. There will be no interaction among candidates, audience members, or other program participants. Answers to these questions on issues will be limited to 1 minute. Each candidate will be given the chance to answer. Each candidate will also be given a 2-minute closing statement, and we will do that in the reverse order of the opening statements. When you have 15 seconds left, Catherine Cordero from the St. Lucie County Chamber of Commerce will hold up this paddle that lets you know you have 15 seconds left. And at the time that your time is up, she will hold up a paddle that says time's up and ding the bell. Everybody understand?
Yes.
We will get started. Mr. Pinney.
We're going to have opening statements. Mr. Blanton, 2 minutes.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Forrest Blanton. In the next 2 minutes, I'd like to tell you a little bit about me, how I got here, what I think is important, and what I want to do for District 84. I was raised in Fort Lauderdale. I went to college in California at Stanford University. After school, I returned to South Florida. I spent the bulk of my professional career at the Memorial Healthcare System in South Broward. Memorial is the 5th largest public health system in the nation. It is well known for its quality, safety outcomes, and its high patient satisfaction. As the Chief Information and Senior Vice President of Memorial, I'm responsible for all of the information technology, clinical systems, safety systems, medical equipment maintenance, and health medical records throughout the system. However, after 35 years, I'm retiring at the end of August. I've owned a house in District 84 since 2004. I'm a weekend resident here. I'll be a permanent resident in a month. I follow the issues very, very closely, and I'm also an avid fisherman and sportsman. I've seen the changes in the water quality, and I'm concerned about the future. My civic involvement began in the early 1980s when I led a group of homeowners associations in suing Broward County over its plans to locate a new landfill in the then pristine wetlands of Southwest Broward. Shortly thereafter, I was appointed to the Broward County Zoning Board, which I served on for 12 years, the bulk of that as chairperson. We voted to incorporate the town of Southwest Ranches, and I was elected to the first town council, subsequently re-elected. I retired after 2 terms to focus my efforts on my professional career. My interests are the environment, education, economic development, healthcare, and civil rights, and I'd like to tell you more about that as we go forward.
Mr. Johnson.
I would say, I'm not saying good morning, because I'm not morning. I'm not saying good afternoon, but I would say good day, everyone. My name is Kim Johnson, candidate for 84th District. Some of you know me, some of you may not. I'm a former county commissioner of St. Lucie County, chairman of the board of county commissioners during that time as well. But one of the things I want to share with you is before I got into office, One of the things that, or before I was able to take my seat, I was asked by the chamber, that did an interview with me, and asked me what would I like to accomplish in my first term. I would tell you I accomplished the things that I wanted to accomplish in the first term, which is number one, I wanted camaraderie between the cities and the county. Somebody told me it would never happen because they have too many issues with each other. And I said, that's not so. Got a chance to work with the great mayor of the city of Fort Pierce, Mayor Linda Hudson. Got a chance to work with the great mayor of the city of Port St. Lucie, Mr. Greg Orvac. And we've accomplished a lot during that time. Also, the second thing I wanted to do is make sure that we had a flourishing port and airport. Our port became a project within itself, an interlocal agreement that we have with the city of Fort Pierce, and also we have talking about interlocal agreement. We have an interlocal agreement with the city of Port St. Lucie, courtesy of recycling, and so we've been able to work together beyond the idea of what people say. When you believe in the people in your community and when you believe in your ability to work with them as a team, you get results at the end of the day. And I say this, my wife, Sharita Johnson, is here in the city of Fort Pierce as an employee. I was an employee for the county. We love our city, we love our community, and we love what we do to help everyone. Thank you.
Ms. Pinney.
Hello, everyone. My name is Teri Pinney. You know, I am blessed because I got an opportunity to visit over 24 countries in the past 5 years. And what that meant is that whenever I got back home, I realized how much I love this country. I love Florida. I especially love Treasure Coast. And where else in the world would you find a woman of Filipino American stand up or come before you asking you to please support her, vote for her, let her be your representative in the House? So because of that, you know, I wanted to share my background. I was born in Honolulu, poverty, family, my mother, a single parent, and I had to fight my way out of bad elements living in the housing, or the projects, you would call it. And I sure did. I went as far away as I could. I ended up going to the University of Tampa, and I got my bachelor's degree in business and a minor in economics. This is in the 70s, which was unheard of, you know, those days. Then I went back to Hawaii, and I got my MBA from the Catholic University there, Chaminade University. I've worked as a petroleum analyst, teacher, an instructor, a high school administrator, and now I'm a small business owner. One-person operation turned into 7 people. We serve government entities and nonprofits, helping them with project development and grant writing. Why vote for me? Well, I'm described by people who know me and people have worked with me as having integrity, caring, and beyond all things I care for. I went blank all of a sudden. Integrity, caring, and education. I fight for an individual when I realize that there's something wrong. Even till today, people come to me and ask me to help them. I care for individuals. I can relate to Democrats, Republican, and independents.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Aronson.
Okay, we're going to start our question portion, and we're going to start in the reverse order. So Ms. Pinney will go first. Remember, you have 1 minute to answer each question.
The Florida cities have home rule powers, which mean they do not need legislative authorization to address local needs. The authority was granted over 50 years ago by our state constitution. Each year, the legislature passes laws that limit or preempt municipal home rule powers. If elected, would you oppose efforts to preempt municipal home rule? Are there any circumstances in which you would support a legislative preemption of home rule?
I feel that what happens in an urban environment is different for what's good for a rural environment. What goes on in Miami and should go on in Miami is not necessarily going to work for the Panhandle. I believe in home rule. It's the same thing with the states wanting to rule their own, the states themselves rather than bringing the federal government in. So I understand home rule, and I would very much be behind it, and I would support it. And particularly for the Treasure Coast, I am behind home rule.
What I would say is, first of all,
Wait a minute, Mr. Johnson.
Sorry.
You ready? Go ahead.
Thank you, I'm sorry. What I would say, first off, I do support home rule. And let me say this as well. Home rule is very important. Why is home rule important? Because when you understand that every city has its own culture, every city has its own way of doing things. And so some of these are the comforts and the conveniences that we attach to them paying bills, to local traditions, and a variety of other things that we do. So I could not see myself not supporting home rule because I believe home rule keeps the culture, keeps the tradition, and keeps the citizens satisfied.
Mr. Blanton?
Thank you. I support home rule also. As a former town councilman, I feel that the folks who are locally elected have a better understanding of the needs and issues of their community. So I think that home rule is important. I think that many of the cases of imposition from state legislature are based upon political issues or issues where they want to force one point of view over another group, and I don't think that's right. So I do support home rule, except in cases where there are safety issues or that require standardization across across the state.
Ms. Aronson?
Thank you. This question will be posed to Mr. Johnson first. Cities face many challenges maintaining and repairing local roads, water, sewer, and other infrastructure. In many instances, legislative authorization is required for new taxes or revenue sources. How would you propose funding these critical needs?
Well, you know, one of the things that we were able to do when I was on the Board of County Commissioners, we actually raised the millage to address some issues. That's one way you can do it. Another way you can do it is by a voter referendum to see if the citizens would like to participate in that type of capacity. Another way you would do it, I would say, when you have new companies come in, when businesses come in and that partnership takes place, they can help assist in dealing with some of that infrastructure. So you have a variety of ways that you can actually attack this situation, and you never want to attack it alone. This is why the cities and the county try to work together, because when you talk about sales tax dollars, when you talk about ad valorem tax dollars, it's a means of us working together and deciding where this money will best go.
Thank you. Mr. Blanton?
Yes, so in the case where the state imposes mandates on cities, then I think it's appropriate that states should help fund those mandates. And I wasn't sure if that was the thrust of this conversation, but for needs that a town or a city needs that the city needs to provide, then it's correct. There are ad valorem taxes, depending on the type of use fees or user fees might be more appropriate. So there are a variety of ways. Obviously, we want to only raise as much money as really necessary to serve the needs of our communities.
Thank you. And Ms. Pinney?
From the start, I am not a fan of raising taxes. However, I do support fair taxes, and when it's needed, because in the case of infrastructure, and because all of a sudden the budget of the city or the county is left deficient because of investment issues or what have you, sometimes that has to happen. But I would prefer, instead of raising property taxes, is to let the economy do something to boost the economy, because you can have property values go up. The property tax stays the same, and yet you've got increased revenue in the millions of dollars. So I would prefer to fund the building of infrastructure by doing what you can to boost the economy further, and do what we can to increase the property value, and then our tax revenue should also increase.
Thank you. And Mr. Campenny?
Mr. Blanton goes next. Community redevelopment areas are created to improve blighted areas through the use of tax increment financing. These CRAs have been very successful in several of our local communities, such as Fort Pierce, Vero, and Stewart, revitalizing the older downtown areas. Do you support the continuation of locally funded CRAs?
I do support the continuation of locally funded CRAs. I know that there are two sides to the CRA situation. For example, in my job at the Memorial Health System, which is an agency of the state government, we had to pay taxes to CRAs. So we thought it was an imposition to CRAs, but I've also seen the great benefit that CRAs have created in a variety of areas to boost local development and to really focus development in areas that do need it. So I support the continuation of CRAs, but I do think they have to be structured carefully to narrowly to focus on the needs required, and also to have time-limited issues so that they don't continue on and on in perpetuity. Thank you.
Ms. Pinney.
Whenever you can get the government, the community, and businesses together to collaborate and work on projects, I'm for that 100%. In regards to the CRAs, I have personally worked with some of those CRAs in the grant writing funding, but also you just see the work that they've done in Fort Pierce, the beautification, the improvements of the city. It's remarkable. I'm 100% in favor of CRAs and supporting them as much as we can, primarily because it's an example of collaboration with, as I said, the community, the government, and businesses.
Mr. Johnson.
I do support CRAs. And let me say this as well. When you take a look at the CRA, you know, there's a project that we do every year in Fort Pierce called Restoring the Village. And we get members from our community that are in businesses, that own businesses, that are in education, that are also in government, and that are a part of the larger scale and scope of what we do. We go in and clean up that community with paint, fresh paint on the house, mowing the lawns, picking up paper. And it's projects like that that I see the CRA as. It's a project that allows members of the community to come together, work together, and increase the harmony and totality of what community is about. Because at the end of the day, people don't want to know how much you know, they want to know how much you care. So CRAs create a caring atmosphere and produces harmony within the citizenry of that community.
Ms. Aronson.
Thank you. This question is on disability expansion. The legislator has mandated that certain health conditions, such as heart disease suffered by firefighters and law enforcement, are presumed to be work-related and apply to both workers' comp and disability pension claims. Disability presumption mandates are very costly to city budgets. Would you oppose expanding the existing disability presumption laws to include a cancer disability presumption? Do you support modifying existing law so that certain risk factors such as tobacco use should be considered when applying the presumption? And this time I believe we are going to start with Ms. Pinney.
Yes, I read a report on how alarming it is when you discover that the rate of brain cancers that firefighters have across the country is rather high and abnormal compared to the average. And it obviously has to do with their exposure to asbestos or whatever vapors are in the air when they're in the site putting fires out, what have you. That touches my heart because a lot of us have family members who are firefighters. A lot of us, well, most of us, we think the world of firefighters. And for that reason, I would very much support a benefit that would, a cancer care benefit. However, we have to remember that there's a cost factor involved. And so I would also endorse looking into ways of how everybody involved can pitch in to cover the cost, the firefighter, the government, and the insurance, I mean, not the insurance company, but yeah.
Thank you. And Mr. Johnson.
So when you're dealing with a situation like this, first of all, you want to know what's causing the problem. If there are a significant number of firemen that are experiencing some levels of cancer, we need to know why they're doing it, why they're experiencing that. And we need to come up with a solution, because once we come up with a solution, be it equipment or any other means in dealing with that job, then we have the problem solved. Now, after we solve the problem, we got to go back and address all the other men and women who have cancer attacking them as a result of their work experience. And one of the first things we need to do is see if there's any federal funding that are relevant to the situation as well. Because if there's a federal attachment to this, we want to be able to, in some capacity, partner with them and have them assist us in providing services, dollars, or benefits as it relates to this situation.
Thank you. And Mr. Blanton.
So I think that providing health care for our firefighters and other first responders is vitally important to us because they are such a bedrock of our community. This is a balanced issue that I think we have to look at in a balanced way. So to the extent, because obviously this also increases costs to the cities and to our taxpayers. So to the extent that things like cancer clusters are evidence-based, and in fact there is a statistical increase in firefighters for these type of ailments, then I would support that presumption. I think we're very, very careful about expanding entitlements without the proper evidence, because we all have seen the problems that cities have with unfunded pension liabilities and issues that build up in the future that have to be addressed eventually. So the answer is yes, but carefully.
Thank you. We are going to move on to closing remarks, and as we mentioned earlier, we will go in reverse order. That means, Ms. Pinney, you will be first. 2 minutes on the closing remarks.
Integrity, caring, and results. That's what represents me, and that's what most people would describe me because of my ability to fight when it's necessary, when people come up to me with their issues. When I was an administrator in the school district, I took it upon myself to see what I could do about it. But it's not only that. In the community, I stood up for my homeowner association, which I was a director. I have been an advocate most of my life. The company that I have right now, that's what we are involved in, advocacy, writing grants for it. Caring, I think I mentioned earlier that I'm an individual. You're looking at an individual that can relate with Republicans, independents, and Democrats, because I've been all of that. And I didn't realize until 8 years ago when my husband says that my values really represent Republican conservative core values. So with that in mind, I'm a Republican now and a proud one of it. And then results. I'm very results oriented. I am, if you give me a project to do, if there's something that this region needs representation up in the legislation, trust me, they will hear me. They will know that I'm there. I'm reliable. I will be there on time. I will be there to represent you. I will never backslide, and I will do my homework. And I will go up to every committee member if there's a bill that we're trying to get, be it training for vocational training, or if it's more funding or more attention to our lagoons and the degradation going on in our waters. I am going to fight for you. So if you want someone who fights for you and your cause, no matter what your political affiliation, Teri Pinney, your voice in Tallahassee.
Thank you. And Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. I am actually guided by these three things, and this is why you should vote for me concerning this position. I have the experience, I have the relationships, and I do get results. As the former chairman of the Board of County Commissioners, we were able to go to Tallahassee and create an opportunity for us to have the Veterans Nursing Facility come back to St. Lucie County. I was a part of that process. I was also a part of the process of help renegotiating a deal for the Mets to stay in St. Lucie County, which is a big part of our tourism. I was also a part of being the chairman of the fire board here in St. Lucie County, and we passed a bill so we can get more funding to deal with vehicle replacement programs that we have. So the experience that I have, and I'll say this as well, working with the city of Fort Pierce, working with the city of Port St. Lucie, both mayors and council members and commissioners, we've yielded great results. We went to Tallahassee as well and came back with a record $126 million, something that was never seen around in this county to that magnitude. I have a great working relationship with members of the community. I know people in Tallahassee. I was the Florida Association of Counties Policy Committee Chairman for all the county commissioners in the state of Florida. Some are running for office right now. I got an email last night from one of my Republican compadres of Florida Association of Counties that stated he would love to work with me in Tallahassee. So we have relationships, we have roles, we have responsibilities, but we also have the ability to get the job done. I want to be your servant to serve you and your family in District 84 and throughout this St. Lucie County that we live in. I love you and your family, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Thank you. And Mr. Blanton?
Thank you. So people ask me sometimes, why in the world would I want to get involved with politics? Why do I want to run for District 84? And the truth of the matter is that I'm not the world's best politician, but I am a concerned citizen who cares deeply about this state and about this nation, and I'm upset with many other things that are happening. I'm angry to see the green slime coming down the river again. We know that big business and big agriculture dominate the state legislature at the expense of our residents. I'm concerned especially with the Supreme Court changes at the impending assaults on a women's right to choose. I'm also concerned about the continuing efforts to restrict the ability of our people to vote freely and fairly and openly. I'm disappointed when I look around District 84 that I don't see more economic development. We've got fantastic possibilities near District 84, the port of Fort Pierce, the international airport, and the infrastructure that is in place in Port St. Lucie. We can do better. And I'm appalled at the way we treat people who are uninsured for health care. I think that health care should be basic health care should be a fundamental human right. I think we need to expand Medicaid in the state of Florida. And I'm upset at the tone of politics in this country, the use of fake news, the outright lies, the animosity between politicians. It shouldn't be this way, and it doesn't have to be. I want to make a change. I am efficient, and I'm organized, I'm energetic, I have the right values behind me, I get things done, I work well with people, and I'm honest and I'm ethical. With your support, we can make a difference. Please vote for me on August 28th.
Thank you, and thank you to our audience for sticking with us again, and thank you to all three. This is 3 of our 6 candidates that we'll be meeting with for Florida House of Representatives District 84. Thanks again.
Thank you.